What is going on, everybody? This is Biker Mike, and that is Devin with the Blue Collar Philosophers. Welcome to another episode of the Blue Collar Philosophers. So, we just watched this great, horrible cartoon.
Mike just introduced me to something bad and awesome.
You ever just watch something and you're like, I am so disappointed in myself. Let's watch another one.
What's it called again?
Moral Oral. It's if you're listening to this, you might like it.
Yeah, if you've got this far in the podcast episodes, it might be for you.
We do not endorse anything that it promotes.
Okay, so you got to explain what it is.
All right, so this is old claymation cartoon of this kid named Oral in Moralville, and yeah, he goes to church every Sunday. His dad's is a bit of a functional alcoholic, and it pretty much starts, well, the third episode starts with them going in church, listening to a sermon, listening to the pastor talk, and then taking that sermon completely out of context. But it wasn't very well presented in the first place. Mm-hmm. And he's like, oh, give to charity or, burn in hell or whatever. Instead of actually talking about the nuance of what it means to give charity, the heart of why you do it.
Yeah, it's just
give to charity.
It's just a hard, fast rule that you're putting out there. God says, do thus. An innocent person, an innocent kid in the congregation hears it, and in good faith says, like, yes, okay, good. I want to be a good Christian, so I'm going to do this. But without understanding the wisdom behind it, goes so all in on it.
Goes straight to the first homeless guy he sees. He's like, I'm going to give you money. He's like, oh, well, I'm going to give you crack because out of the goodness of my heart. It's like, oh, I can't do that. It's like, no, there's no legal limit to it.
Yeah, it's like, you'd be doing me a favor because after trying this, you're going to keep coming back to me. It'll be mutually beneficial.
Yeah, so he's giving him money and he's giving him crack.
Right after getting reamed out by his dad for the sin of wasting money.
Not only is it a sin, it's insane.
You see, Moral, it's not only a sin to waste your money, it's also insane. So the kid thinking that he's got to help the homeless.
Yeah, best of intentions.
Best of intentions, help the homeless. Also, you can't throw the crack away because you pay good money for it, and it's a sin to waste your money.
Yeah,
so
don't waste your money.
He had to do it in his mind. That was the logic.
Yeah, and the parents had no idea what he was talking about. It's like,
and hilarity ensues.
Hilarity does ensue. Little 11, 12-minute episodes, and they're all horrible.
It reminds me a little bit of, like, a more intelligent Robot Chicken.
Yes.
Like, a little less fast-paced. Like, it takes time to build up the story, but, like, the same kind of animation and the same kind of, like, twist at the end.
Oh, yeah.
The stupid punchline at the end of the episode.
It's just right out of left field.
The father is, like, reaming out the kid for his thing and having a conversation with him about what brought him to the whole place.
You know what crack leads to?
And he, like, asked the kid, like, why he did it, and the kid explained his mental math. He's like, and I didn't want to waste any money like you told me.
You told me, don't waste it.
He's like, well, I'm proud of you for that, son. But you don't understand the real problem with crack. It's a gateway to slang. And, son, it is a sin to bastardize the American language.
The forgotten 13th commandment. Thou shalt not bastardize the American language.
Oh, so funny.
So bad.
It caught me so off guard.
Yeah. That is the yeah, you can be disappointed in me. I'm fine with that.
If you've got a sense of humor, Google Moral Oral.
Moral Oral. And if you don't find it funny, okay, I don't know what to do with you. Don't watch it.
Maybe this is a good time to, like, rehash our disclaimer from the first couple episodes. Don't listen to this episode or this podcast with your kids. If you do, you're a bad parent.
You're a bad parent, and you have to understand that. Like, you have to be at peace with it. You gotta be at peace with being a bad parent.
And if you are, okay.
All right, welcome.
Join the club.
I wouldn't let my kids listen to this. I'm just gonna put it out there. I'm a good parent in that way. I might say these things, but I'm not listening.
So, honest question. When do you think you might be like, hey,
15.
Gideon, come check this out?
15.
Yeah, you're pretty quick with that one. All right.
I
feel like you thought it through.
If he's my kid, he will be about 15 years old before he's ready for some of my jokes. He's already caught on to a couple of them. I don't know what I was singing the other day. Five Little Monkeys. I was singing Five Little Monkeys jumping on the bed.
Yeah.
And one jumped off and cracked its head, or bumped its head. It says bumped. I said cracked. And I'm like, no more monkeys jumping on the bed because they're all dead. My daughter didn't catch it. I'm singing it to the 2-year-old. And my son's like, wow, that went dark. And I'm like, yep. With that being said, I do have a triumph in my life. I don't push my faith on my children. I present it, I live it, I do this. I do speak at Sunday school and all this stuff, but I don't push it on my kids. And my son came to me, or we were talking about salvation, this, that, and the other at Sunday school. And then I'm like, does everyone here said the Lord's Prayer or equivalent? I didn't say Lord's Prayer because I don't like that. Mm-hmm. I don't like the ask Jesus into your heart bullshit.
That's different. That's sinner's prayer.
Oh, the sinner's prayer. Yeah. Sorry, the sinner's prayer. And so all the kids are like, yep. And Gideon's like, nope. And I'm like, fine. I'm okay with this. I am at peace because he's nearly 10. But at the same time, I don't want it to be my pushing onto him. And he's like, nope. And I'm like, does anybody want to? He's like, yep. And all the other kids were good. And I'm like, you and I will talk later. Because I didn't want to just, make it all about him and this, that, and the other. It's like, I'm going to have them all say this prayer. I'm like, no. If they're all good, according to them, then they're good. I'm going to talk to my son about it later. So I brought it up with him a couple days later, and we actually had the conversation. I'm like, and he's like, yeah, I want to commit my life to Jesus. I want to live for him and understand that it's not about me, it's about him. And so, my son gave his life to the Lord and decided that he's going to live for him and all that stuff. And I'm like, I'm telling you, man, the next day I was just giddy and like emotional, really emotional and shit. I'm like, listening to music, almost crying. I'm like, stop being a little bitch. But no, it was a super proud moment for me. I'm like, because I don't want my faith to be my kids' faith simply because, I forced it on them or they were born and raised in that household. It's like, no, I want this to be your choice. I've never pushed it on them. Well, simultaneously, I've never pulled it away from them. So, for me, it was a huge thing. I was pretty happy about that.
I'm in the same boat, like when it comes to Mac and faith and stuff like that. Like, I kind of wait for him to ask questions, and he asks really interesting, deep theological questions he started doing it when he was 6, and up till now, like every now and then he asks like a really deep really deep thing. And the other day we were bombing around Grand Prairie, looking at used cars. We were car shopping. And I decided to throw on an album, like the Seventh Day Slumber.
That's what I was listening to today.
The
Lion and the Lamb?
Not that one, the first one.
I
forget what it's called. But I mean, it's just basic modern worship songs, kind of done with like kind of a chunky rock edge sort of thing, right?
Yeah, less bitchy.
Yeah, just something that I had on in the background, just to have something pleasant on, like they don't listen to hardcore death metal with my son and wife in the vehicle. That's not what they enjoy.
No.
Nor is like old OG hip hop or things like that, right?
Take Everything. Yeah.
Yeah, Take Everything. That's the album name. So I had that playing, and Mac actually asked me to play a song again. I guess he was just sitting in the back of the vehicle, like listening to it, and he caught a couple lyrics about like Jesus' sacrifice. He's like, can you play that song again? So we played the song again, and then after it was done, he's like, okay, can you tell me the story of what Jesus did for me again, and just kind of help me understand like what he did and why he had to do it? I was like, oh snap. Like that's very mature and intelligent frame of mind to be in there. And so Carissa and I, like we turned off the music and pulled the car over, and we just had like a family chat about what that's like. And he's like, okay. And he's like, you know what? I'm still having trouble understanding it. It's like, can we talk about this a little bit later? And maybe when I'm a little bit older, I'll be able to make a decision about what I believe about it. Okay.
Fuck yeah. Okay. You want to say fuck yes, but at the same time you're like, nope, not around the child.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's a proud moment. Like, it's one of those things where like the old evangelical part of me wants to have that moment where you're like, help lead your kid to Jesus,
Yeah,
and
like what I got
yeah, like,
today.
and through that sort of thing, right? But the new part of me, is kind of like I'm pretty sure God's got you, kid.
Yeah,
I want to see you grow up and think about things and make decisions for yourself.
yeah. That's yeah, and that's a lot of what I go through too. Because even these kids in the Sunday school, they're like, "Do you even want to go to heaven?" And I'm like, "What do you mean by heaven?" Like these aren't simple questions. You're asking a very simple question, expecting a simple answer, but I'm
Yeah.
not going to give you a simple answer because I can't go against my conscience. Whereas same thing with your kid's faith. You want this for him because you see the value in it, and all the great things. And yeah, you're sure God's got him. Like, no, this
Yeah.
is mine.
This one
You
time-
don't know it yet,
Yeah.
but you are.
I think so. I mean, there's one time he told me, he's like, Dad, sometimes talking about God makes me want to cry. I'm like, makes you want to cry? Why? He's like, I don't know. It just makes me feel very strongly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. He's like, yeah. I mean, like, there's something there. There's something in him that I know is drawn
Yeah.
in like in a deep way. And so I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm gonna let this percolate. I'm gonna let this simmer.
Yeah.
I mean, like, at one point, you could put the pressure on him, but at
Oh,
that
yeah.
point, you're just manipulating the kid.
Yeah. And at no point did I manipulate. Yes, I spoke at Sunday school. Yes, I gave a very great message.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm good at speaking.
not hiding any of the fact. I mean, like, like, I talk about Bible all the time. He sees me reading it. He sees me wearing, crosses. He saw me wearing, like, he knew, like, we were in a Christian motorcycle club. Like,
Yeah.
that was, and he was around and hearing stuff, like, and, like, doing Sunday school lessons. Like, I'm actively making a part of our family life, but at the same time, not trying to bear down on him to, like, make some kind of decision or proclamation that, he's going to feel pressure to do because this is something Dad really wants me to do.
Yeah, and it's not Christian by association. You don't want him to be Christian by association either. To be like, oh, well, Dad's
Yeah.
Christian, so I'm a Christian.
But at the same time, I'm sitting there going through science textbooks and stuff like that with them, talking about
Evolution.
evolution and stuff like that, and where the dinosaurs came from, and I'm perfectly comfortable teaching that stuff to him. Well, like, say, my wife is not so much.
Yeah. She's very much on the
she doesn't-
theory.
Yeah, she doesn't.
Theory of
she doesn't
evolution.
push back on it. She wants to make sure that we're presenting, at least as a couple, like, even if it's obvious that mommy and daddy don't agree on this,
Yeah.
but we respect each other's views and we're not pushing one on the.
Yeah. You're allowing him to see both sides of
Yeah.
it without. You see, I have a really hard draw between the young earth, the simultaneous, like, God decided, just make it all at once. I guess, could he? Sure. Did he? I don't think so. But at the same time, I don't want to disregard it. So it's
Yeah.
that might be part of my upbringing on that one. But that kind of brings me a little bit to the idea of what we were going to talk about with the moral ambiguity, where these are our children, right?
Yeah.
We're not going to throw things on them that they're not ready for. My kid's not ready to talk about the moral implications of
Well, let's say something like abortion. Or-
Yes, like this is a real subject that needs to be talked about. That is important. I stand firm on the pro-life for myself, and I think that should be for my kids. And as horrible as that might sound,
But it's at the same time, it's like that conversation isn't for an 8-year-old.
yeah.
Like, let them be kids.
Yeah. So I had this pastor that I went and saw with. I'm going to talk about it a little bit. All right.
Okay.
So I had this pastor back in the day that I went to, and he had this sermon about how he would make these amazing cookies, and he's like, imagine the best cookie you've ever had in your entire life, and then just a tiny tablespoon of dog shit. He didn't say shit because he's a nice guy, but just a tiny little
Dog
bit of
poopy.
shit,
Doggy
poopy, and I just mixed it in, and but don't worry, it's only a little bit. Is it still a good cookie? You won't even taste it, but is it still a good cookie? And everyone is like, no, no, that's a bad cookie. That is no longer a good cookie. At the time, I'm like, yeah, no, I agree with that. I would not willingly eat shit.
So, question: how much fecal matter or
Is it
dead
acceptable
or
level?
or yeah, how much percentage of rat shit or insect parts or mold or things like that would you accept in your food? Because like let's say the FDA or something like that, like there is a prescribed percentage of what is acceptable or not.
That's right.
Of stuff to be in
flour,
your food
in
from
literally flour.
because that stuff gets in the process of processing food.
Chocolate. You ever seen chocolate factories when they have like bugs and stuff that are like literally mixed into it? And they're like, yeah, we filter it out. But can you filter it all out? No.
Yeah, I was talking with a cigar expert, or quote unquote expert. He was kind of a douchebag. I was talking with a guy, and he was like, he's like, when you're keeping your cigar, see, he's one of those guys.
That was so funny.
when you're keeping your cigar, see, you want to make sure you keep it at a certain percentage of humidity. It's like I like to have mine a little higher than average. It's like I want it to burn cool and burn slow, but having it down to like 67% humidity is perfectly acceptable. But never get above 82. If you get it above 82%, are you done?
Yeah, sorry. Go ahead. No.
No, sorry. Your movement threw me off my groove, off my character. When you get it above 82%, I forget what he said, certain percentage above 80,
Yeah.
your cigar has got little bug larvae in it.
Little mites and shit.
Little mites larvae. It's like, but if you get it above a certain percentage, then they're wet enough to start hatching, and your cigars will have actual bug larvae like hatch and start worming around in there and eating their way out.
Sounds
Something like that.
delicious.
It's like
protein. So you get protein and a cigar.
So
Like,
every
bragging.
every cigar has these eggs in it.
Yes.
They just lives in tobacco.
Yep.
It's like you just need to accept that is what you're putting in your mouth when you're having a cigar.
Yeah. Have you seen the people who make the cigars? They're literally using their tongue and stuff like that to like moisturize it and spit on it and all this stuff. Like it's so sexy. Now I want to smoke a big black one. Brown, sorry. Brown.
Yeah. But even that, like you have to accept there's a certain amount of an undesirable thing that you're going to experience if you want to have this.
Yes.
How much are you willing to accept? Like, does that turn you right off?
And I think that has to do with your level of consciousness too. If you are conscious that it's there, you have to come to terms with it. You have to accept, okay, when will it start affecting me negatively? At what point does it actually make a difference in my life?
Yeah. So let's go back to your pastor
and
the point he was trying to make there.
So this pastor was talking about that, and he was like, in your life, what percentage of bad or with anything, I don't remember what he was, I think it was movies. I'm quite sure it was movies. Mm-hmm. Really great movie, but it's got a little bit of bad language. Or, it's just got a boob showing. Or, it's just got this little tiny thing. But everything else in the movie is really, really good. Or music. Or just anything that you devour culturally.
Or this podcast.
Where these are things that you're consuming and you're putting into yourself, and what you put into your heart will come out your mouth, right? Where people might think that we're full of vile, horrible thoughts, and it's the fact that we half promoted moral oral. You'd be like, you're horrible people. Yeah, maybe. But at what point do you take ownership of that and say, how much before this starts to affect me? I think you really have to be at that level where if it's actually affecting you, if what you're listening to is starting to affect you, yeah, you need to change it. If you're listening to satanic music, or what they proclaim to be satanic music, which is pop music to me, it makes me very angry. It's very promiscuous. It's horrible messaging and all this stuff. That's pop music is satanic to me, most of it. Where it affects me negatively because it just makes me angry and all this stuff. So I just stay away from it. Now, if you're listening to a metal band...
It doesn't affect you negatively because it makes you want to do all the things. It's because it makes you angry and want to punch people.
Yeah, a little of both. Sex and violence. We're going to talk about that one day. But see, he's talking about these things. And then a little while later, this same pastor went out and said, okay, this is right after the vaccine came out for this most recent thing. And he's like, everyone should get vaccinated. You should all get the shot. You should all do exactly what. No, there is no exception for it. And so I really want to go to him and ask him. I'm like, so remember that sermon you were talking about with dog shit and movies? Well, let's talk about a vaccine. Now, there's a really great vaccine. Does exactly what you said it's supposed to. It's going to be healthy. It is going to protect you. It is going to do all these things. It's going to work exactly the way that you say it will, but it's got just a smidgen of aborted fetus stem cells. But don't worry about it. It might even be a clone of a aborted fetus. So it's not an actual baby fetus. It's a cloned baby fetus stem cells. So I'm putting into
what's your percentage of dead baby that you're willing to take
dead baby are you willing to
are you willing to take into your vaccine?
So that you can live your best life.
Yeah. So you just want to throw that whole sermon right back in his face.
And I want to be like, okay, this is what you believe, or are you going to chuck it out? Or are you going to understand that there is a level of moral ambiguity that you have to have?
Sorry about that.
Oh. I did it first, I guess. Where they're so yeah. What for you?
What level of moral ambiguity am I comfortable with?
Yes, I think it has to go for section for section. Movies, I can watch the most violent movie, and I'm like, oh, that was great. I'm gonna go take a nap.
So how does it work with sex for you then?
Exclusive.
No, I mean like. In the realm of movies, like
oh yeah,
when it comes to sexual content versus say violent or vulgar or like like
so if a movie has a sex scene in it or a TV show has a sex scene on it, how do I respond?
Yeah,
personally, I try to zone out. I tried. I don't not divert completely. Like, oh, I'm just gonna look away completely. But I'll like half zone out because we have phones. There's so many outs nowadays. All I got to do is flash on Facebook for half a second, and I can hear what's going on most of the time. Or depending on what movie it is or how long it is, I can fast forward. Like this is just like okay, I know how long this is because I watched it twice, and now that I'm with the wife, I'll fast forward. No. No, there's times and a place, and I'm like, okay, if I know a movie has like 3 seconds, I'm like, oh.
For you and yourself, you're making a judgment call on certain types of things that you give more weight to than another. Like the sexual moral depravity weighs more on you than say like the violence does.
Language and
violence.
Yeah. Because I think sometimes language adds to it, even though it's vulgar, even though it's crude, even though a lot of things, it can add to it. To the story, to characters. Sometimes it's vulgarity for the sake of vulgarity. It's just fucking lazy writing. Sometimes, but those are few and far between.
For instance, my dad and I sat down and tried to watch a movie recently. It was A Million Ways to Die in the West.
I like that movie.
And we couldn't get through it. We're like, this is garbage, just vulgar jokes for the sake of stupid vulgar jokes. It was nothing but the laziest of writing. Because like we're like, oh, maybe this is like Blazing Saddles or something like that you think is, it's got an edge to it. It's playing with mores and stuff like that, but it has good writing and good comedy. None of that. It was just nonstop dick jokes. Yes. For the sake of dick jokes.
I like that movie.
Not even in a way that anybody in the time frame would act or be or anything like that.
I truly enjoy in the movie. I know you said it was shit, which is fine because we could just not like the same thing. But I do like that at some points in the movie you could see other people in the movie breaking character while laughing at things, and I really enjoyed that.
That's funny to an extent, like seeing those guys being on film and just trying to crack each other.
Yeah.
But it's not making good art.
No.
It's not making a good film.
That's lowbrow. It was lowbrow. I'm not justifying it. It's like Family Guy. It's not well written.
So for me, like it's not the most vulgar thing I've ever watched.
No.
Hell no, it's not the most violent thing, it's not the most sexual thing. But it was one of the most gratuitous that I've ever seen. Nothing in it serve the purpose of making a good story or a good art or a good point.
Yeah. You see, the thing about Blazing Saddles was the racial dynamic that they threw in with it that allowed it to push social boundaries at the time. It allowed it to look at something with a very different lens when it's like, hey, what if we put a black guy in the West as a sheriff? Like, the story writes itself.
Mm-hmm.
Where this one's like, no, none of that nuance, none of that quirky lines. It's like, no, there's just 1,000 ways to die in the West. Here's a chick with nice rack, and
So for me, the idea of a percentage of what I'm okay with is a sliding scale.
Yeah.
I mean, like, obviously, like, I'm not gonna watch porn just because it had a really good storyline. But
sorry, I just imagine like any porn that I've seen, none of it has a good storyline. It's like, no, I don't have money. Do you have Visa? we have the Visa now.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, like, what kind of edge is in a film is something that is on a sliding scale depending on how well it serves the story.
Yeah.
How well it serves the art. Is it gratuitous, or is it there for a point, an intellectual, or like gut wrenching, or like is it investing you in the characters in a way that makes sense?
Do you know a movie I tried to watch recently?
Okay.
Wolf of Wall Street.
Okay.
I've fucking seen that movie.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen it. Tried watching it again.
What's your thoughts?
I couldn't get through it. I'm like, no.
That's actually, I'd say, probably a really, really good example of a film that got too gratuitous for its own good.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh no, I remember this movie. It was pretty good. And then I tried watching it. I'm like, no, I did not care to see it again. Yes, I watched it once, but I think the part where it would become a problem is that if I got really comfortable seeing it over and over and over again,
mm-hmm.
and I'm like, I'm glad that I got to that. Like, I didn't have to watch it more than once. I watched it once, and then I tried. I actually tried. I went out of my way. And I was by myself. I didn't have any.
The thing is, like,
there
is something in that movie, like, of value, of art, of, like, comedy, of making
everything.
a good story. But it just has so much gratuitousness to it that doesn't really serve the story except for being sensational.
Yeah.
And at that point, it loses me.
Yeah. Did you watch it at all? Did you watch it one
Yes.
time, 2 times? Yeah.
Yeah, I think I like you saw it once, and like maybe like looked back on it through rose-colored glasses.
Yeah, that's what I think I was at.
I don't know that, or maybe I just was like maybe it had to be better than what I remember it, because people are raving about this freaking movie.
Yeah.
And then tried to give it another shot. Is like, yeah, no, this is exactly what I thought it was.
Yeah. Yeah, I wasn't offended by it. There was nothing wrong with it the first time. Like, yes, it's a very bad movie. It was an example of what it is, but trying to watch it again.
What's say a film that you really, really enjoy and see a lot of value in that pushes the boundaries of what a quote unquote moral oral Christian would accept?
Gran Torino.
Ooh.
Fucking phenomenal movie. It's so good. Like, just character development, cultural, race, like everything. Just,
oh my gosh.
It's fucking awesome.
So many non-ironic racial slurs in that movie.
Oh, not even hiding them. It was such a fucking great movie.
But it all builds to a real character making a point and showing, like, progress as a person.
Even at a progressive age and all that stuff.
And so, like, that movie only works because of how real and how visceral.
With that being said,
Clint Eastwood works, and like, you couldn't that movie couldn't be as good as it is if it cut out all the filth. Mm-hmm. It couldn't be.
Could not.
And I mean,
I know, because my dad was there when we were like trying to watch it. And he's like, "What the hell?" Like, he didn't say hell. What are you guys watching? I'm like, "It's a really good movie." Because it's got some language in it. It really does. It's vulgar, it's racist, and all these things. And I'm like, it's really good. And then he sat down and actually watched it with us. And he's a pastor. Mm-hmm. And so I'm not saying he endorsed it. I'm not saying he was a good movie. But he sat and he's like, oh, okay. I see it now for what it is. But if you just go by the Timothy or catching from it the 2 seconds, oh, they said zipperhead or whatever. I don't even know what that means. But they say these things in the movie. And if you just go by that, you're going to be like, oh, it's horrible. It's dog shit. This is the dog shit. It's like, you're missing it. You miss it, the added protein or fiber, whatever the fuck it adds to it, made it what it is. And I think there's a really good...
I mean, that's why Christian movies suck.
Oh, yeah.
Is they take out anything relatable in it.
Oh, yeah. And then they make the bad guys just so horrendously, like, intentionally evil. Not compassionate evil. Because that's the real evil in the world, is compassionate evil.
Well, I don't know. I can't even remember the last Christian movie I've seen that had, like, a real true bad guy in it. It's usually just some guy who's a normal bloke is wrestling with his faith.
Did you see the God's Not Dead one where they were like trying to take God out of schools?
I never saw that one. I just couldn't.
Yeah, I guess when it came out, you were kind of going through your shit too. So the idea of watching that movie would have...
Oh, I would have eviscerated it.
Thrown up. And no, the bad people in that
the thing
one,
is, I would have...
Not the individual bad teacher.
I would have eviscerated both sides of it. It'd be
yes.
like, one, this stupid caricature of an atheist
yes.
professor. 2, this is a stupid caricature of a Christian. 3, fuck this movie.
Yes, and it doesn't go past the message. God's not okay. Cool. I'm good with the message of it, but the way that you put this message out is dog shit. Because they can't make a good. The thing is, it wasn't just the atheist professor. It was the way that they pin the entire system, the school system, against God. They're like, oh, we're going to take God out of schools once and for all. I'm like, shut the fuck up. No one thinks like that. They are thinking in equality.
Twisting your curly mustache.
And that's why I'm like, no, people don't actually think like that. They're trying to be
smoking
fair
your cigars and drinking your brandy. Gentlemen, too evil. Quite. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so bad guys like that. Yeah, it's just stupid caricatures.
And that's why Christians can't make good... I think the best Christian movie that I can watch is still a little out there was the... what was it called? The Quest? The Oath? It's the one with all the cops in it. You know, the 3 cops. And they, like, start trying to be better dads and all that shit.
Okay, I know which one you're talking about. I forget what it's called.
I forget what it's called, too.
I still hated it.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
I have a daughter, and so seeing the little girl die in that one, not seeing it, but like having that dynamic to it really just irked me, and I'm like, fuck this movie. Because having daughters, and I think I said in my church one time when we were dedicating to raise Talia, I'm like, it's a good thing that God gave his only son, because if he had a daughter, he wouldn't give her up. Because little girls, they just...
Fair enough. I mean, I remember that part of the movie. Like, I do remember, like, it's like it tugs on emotional heartstrings and stuff like that. But at the same time, I can't unsee the horrible acting.
Yes.
I can't unsee the stupid plot line.
Yeah.
And just the unrelatableness of all the quote unquote blue collar guys in it.
Yeah.
And, you know, the come to Jesus moment.
You
know, all that
the
stuff.
stereotypical Christian. And that's why I said it's the best one. I didn't say it was good. Like it is, one of the better ones. If you really want a great Christian movie, go for Left Behind. That was a joke. This is a comedy podcast.
Can lack of talent be the dog shit?
I'm talking about the Nick Cage one, which was.
Ooh. Oh, can you imagine
so
how many good movies he would make if he took time to think about what he was signing on to?
Yes.
I'm pretty sure he had debts that really needed to be paid. It's like, yes,
this meth ain't gonna buy itself. It's a joke. Nick Cage, if you want to come on the podcast, reach out to us. Please
remember, Michael, it is a sin to waste even $1 of your money. So if you have spent it on crack, you need to finish it.
That's why we're drinking all this booze.
That's right. It's our moral duty to finish it.
That's a fucking another thing. Alcohol. Okay, if you feel a personal conviction and not drink alcohol, don't fucking drink. If you can't have a drink without having 5, don't drink. I can have a beer. I can have 1 beer.
What degree of drug is acceptable in your drink?
Coffee?
Yeah, right? That's an addictive...
That is an
that
addictive drug.
Addictive
And a
narcotic.
mind-altering
Caffeine.
drug. It is a neural... It affects you neurologically. It does, 100%. It's never not going to. If you don't think it does, fucking do some research.
Yeah, but then you have those guys that are like, I'm better than drinking coffee. And then they're like sucking back black tea like there's no tomorrow. Like there's no caffeine in that.
No caffeine. It's like, just give
See,
me
I'm
the tea,
over,
man.
I'm 100% over my cravings. Where you're like, chug back 3 mugs of tea, trying to get the same level of caffeine kick that you're used to.
Yeah.
I'm so much better than you right now.
And I never claim to be really a coffee you know those people that are like, oh, weasel shit coffee. Or I don't know, there's some kind of cat or whatever.
Kopi-Luwak.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, it's really great coffee. I'm like, I would still put hazelnut creamer in there. No, I don't drink it black. So I can't be a connoisseur. You're not going to give me something and me not add something.
The other day we were hanging with our brother and gave him a bottle of
fuck you.
The nice scotch.
I said no, you fucking didn't listen.
I'm a libertarian, Mike, unlike you. He can do whatever he wants with the gift that's given to him.
Pearls before swine, I tell you.
So he's like, yeah, this is really good. And then he just dumped like a half a bottle of ginger ale in it. So that's you with coffee.
That's me with coffee.
Yeah.
But I don't claim to. I don't claim to drink good.
But we all have our thing. Right?
Oh yeah.
Like, I mean, like tequila, I like it fine enough. It's not offensive to me. But like, if you give me like an amazing expensive bottle of tequila, I'm still gonna be like, where's the salt and the lime?
Yeah.
Like, can we throw like 3 limes in this and make a margarita?
Yeah. No, I'm a lot in the same boat. But when you know that person's going to mix it with ginger ale, you give them the cheap shit.
It was a test.
It was a test.
It was a test. He failed.
He failed.
But still, it was his right to fail.
It was. And I have to accept that. That being said, I do think it to be a baller move to just grab like something very expensive, be like cool, and then just mix Coke with it, just spite.
It's gangster. What can I say? It's gangster.
It is gangster. It is a kind of a very slight fuck you to guys like me who I'm like, oh, because I can't afford stuff like that all the time.
So much dog shit mixed into this podcast.
So much dog shit. Yeah.
If you've listened to this podcast up to this point, you're a bad person
because
you didn't consider yourself better than us and turn it off as you should have.
As you should have.
If you want to be a good Christian listener, like Moral Oral,
finish what you start, coward.
Yeah, that's exactly how that episode would go. No, you finish what you start.
You finish this bag of crack. It's like the kid who smokes one cigarette and then his dad makes him smoke the whole card.
Oh, yeah. It's like what King of the Hill had an episode on that where Hank was doing that to Bobby, and it turns out like Bobby actually got hooked on the stuff, so they had to quit together.
Oh, that was a good show. That one, I think for me it came out at the wrong time. Like I did not get to enjoy it the way that.
At the time, I was like into Simpsons and Family Guy.
Yeah.
Like, you know, being the young guy. Yeah. So King of the Hills, like it missed me. Like looking back on it now, like I have a couple of the DVD sets. I've watched episodes. I'm like, oh, this is probably the best of the cartoon sitcoms of that era. Yeah. Like it's the most down to earth, the most relatable, but funny. Yeah. And really knows how to send up good stuff in a lighthearted way, but also like killer. Yeah. Yeah. There's a few things like that, like Seinfeld. I've been getting into Seinfeld. I'm like, I'm going to give it a go. Yeah, it's good. It is really good. But at the time, I'm like, no, it couldn't. It was before me. Mm-hmm. And I think there's a lot of things like that where they just hit at the wrong time. Friends, I'm sure it's got some funny moments, but it hit at the wrong time. How I Met Your Mother, that one hit at the right time for me. I'm like, oh, I'm a young adult, so I'm going to watch this. Oh my gosh. The bro code. So we just did that episode of like basic instructions before leaving Earth. Yeah. You mentioning How I Met Your Mother. That's what it's like. It's the Bible. It's like, Daddy, how did you meet Mommy? And then get this 6-season prolong answer where you only really meet Mommy at the end, and the entire rest of it is
It's just if you don't know by now that she's dead and that she passed away a while ago and that it's all about Robin, I just ruined everything for you. And
But like, if you're gonna ask like for a basic way to figure out how to go to heaven, and like
go to the
that
end.
6 seasons of backstory, that's what it's like.
That's yeah. We're just gonna go 6.
But you guys have already listened to an
6.
episode. We need to move on.
Yeah.
I just laughed because that was a great analogy as
Yeah.
that show.
And the thing is, Devin, you're going on a gorgeous road trip next week, so we're not going to have time to record. And I might be recording one by myself. You will get a strictly Biker Mike episode. Maybe. We'll see. This one will be released next week, yes.
Pardon me, I'm sorry about that.
Yeah.
Water, it's my mortal nemesis. I don't know what it is. If I drink water, it's going down the wrong tube.
Beer makes you frothy. Whiskey's good. Water just
Water
ruins
tries
you.
to kill me every damn time. Water tries to kill me.
Alcohol is the solution.
Apparently.
So yeah, you might be getting some episodes of just me, but maybe you might be back. We might record one before then, but I might just record one just to have a.
No, I probably won't.
I probably won't.
I got 2 evenings free after this, and then I'm gone.
Oh no, I mean before you get back, because this is 2 weeks, right? This is gonna be the one we just recorded was the first week. This will be the second week. And how long's your trip for?
Just 4 days.
Just 4 days. Oh yeah. No, you might be back.
Yeah, we're crushing like 800-kilometer days every day.
But you might be having to work extra to make up for that.
Truth.
Truth. Yeah.
Truth.
Yeah. So
It's one of those days where you're like, or one of those trips you're like, we shouldn't take this, but if we don't, we're gonna murder people.
yeah, your dad needs to go on a trip more often. Like just get on the road and enjoy it. So I realized something after hanging out with the boys last weekend. We need to mention them just for them to have an excuse to listen to this shit.
Frick yeah. Spoon.
Teaspoon.
Pull over. Wrench.
Oh, I love that guy.
Pete.
PD. I got to spend so much time with Wrench. I was so happy. Him and I were having a great time at our brother's wedding. So
Yeah, we went to a wedding 2 weeks ago.
yeah,
And at this time in life, I fucking hate weddings. Like
cost so much money.
I don't want to go. I make excuses not to go. But when I heard this guy was getting married,
Yeah, fuck yes.
when he got the info, it was an automatic yes, and it was an automatic. This is gonna be a good time,
Yeah,
and it was. It did not disappoint. I had so much fun that whole weekend.
I gave a speech, right? Mm-hmm. Amanda was so nervous.
What is he gonna say?
What is he gonna say?
Is he? You can't. You couldn't say anything to embarrass you more than the guy that sang a whole country song a cappella at the mic. But
Yeah, some guy sang a song,
digress.
which was fine. It's a thing. I went up to him after. I'm like, "You stole my thing. I was gonna do that."
the same song.
Same song.
Son of a bitch. You should have said that at the microphone after.
I should have, but there was too many people between us. So I went to go up to the microphone, and Amanda's all nervous, like, "Oh, what is he going to talk about? What is he going to say?" And then I go up, and I give a fucking awesome speech. And she's like, "Oh, that was really good." I'm like, "Yeah, I drink and talk for fun. This is literally what I do once a week."
I'm an amateur drinky talker.
Drinky talker.
I think that's the official.
And it has to be a
Title.
coherent because I can hear myself most of the time. So I'm like, I can fucking do this. And I gave a good one. I was only a few beers in, too. So I think I did good. Nobody booed.
Cool. Well, let's wrap this one up, brother.
All right.
Moral ambiguity. I will finish by reciting a Bible verse from my favorite book, Ecclesiastes. Don't be too good or too wise! Exclamation mark.
God bless.
Don't be a dick.
Music has been brought to us by Kirk the Riffer Wells. He at Liquid State Audio. He is the guitarist, the producer, and the mixing engineer. Thank you from the Blue Collar Philosophers.